for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've only been in this town for about a year and a half, and I've become convinced that a large proportion of this city's functions could be constitutionally and physically sent back to the states or streamlined with a good app or eliminated altogether. We've become far too used to accepting mediocrity from our federal government. Every industry, I come from the automotive industry, we're expected to get more efficient, better, safer, faster, with less resources, though things become more complex. Air travel has gotten more complex, but more safe. And over the past 40 years, our medicine, our phones, everything we expect to be better than it was in the past without an exponential increase in cost. What's embarrassing is the fact that the federal government is the only place that is not expected to get more efficient and better with less resources over time. Folks in America have not lost faith in America. Folks in America have lost faith in Washington, D.C., because we have failed to live under the same standards of excellence and efficiency that they have. And so, for the private sector, those who do expect to get better over time, I just have a couple of questions based upon the feedback I've been getting from the innovators, the job creators, the business sector of how they have been experiencing the FTC. I'm hearing that your staff's engaged in following activities. One, issued guidance to Section 5 of the FTA Act, which at times runs contrary with decisions that are made in court cases involving the FTC. Two, issued hundreds of warning letters regarding companies, products, or income claims and threatened civil penalties, even in the absence of an administrative finding with respect to the companies. And three, used settlements and the threat of litigation to try to drive change in different industries. That sounds like bullying to me. That sounds like bullying the very sectors that are actually getting more efficient and doing more with less. Chairwoman Khan, after Chevron, will you commit to changing your practices, or do you plan on continuing doing business as usual?
Thanks, Congressman. Let me just say, first of all, the FTC staff is second to none, and I would disagree with any characterization or suggestion that they are mediocre. We are fortunate to have extraordinarily talented people who could be making multiple.
I classified this town in its wasteful spending as mediocre and expecting to have the same amount of money or higher spending when every other industry in the private sector is expected to do more with less. What is your commitment to efficiency, doing more with less, rather than complaining that you don't have the resources that you need to execute your job?
So we are day after day forced to be efficient. I mean, we have no choice. And one of the situations that we
Well, that's great to hear. So will this be a commitment on the record to change your ways rather than targeting or bullying in establishing standards unilaterally and a presumption of guilt with letters like the notice of penalty offenses concerning deceptive and unfair conduct around endorsements from every organization from Abbott to Zulily? Would you back away after Chevron and maybe have a presumption of innocence for most of these companies as they try to do their business?
So I don't believe that that Supreme Court decision affects the notice of penalty offense authority, which is really laid out in Section 5M1B of the FTC Act, and it's a very explicit authority that allows us to do this. As a general matter, of course, we're always going to do our work in accordance with any Supreme Court rulings that come down. One thing on your just efficiency point, our agency is smaller today than it was in the 1980s. The economy, meanwhile, has grown 16 times over. The mergers that are coming in the door are multiples of what they were decades ago. When
That's right. And decades ago, the company that I used to run, it was echelon smaller and more complicated and grew larger. That is the expectation, Ms. Khan, is that you have to do more with less of the American taxpayers' dollars while executing at a higher level. That is the expectation the American people have of themselves. That's the expectation they have of you. My next question, shifting gears to something that I've heard of everyone protecting our kids on social media. My West Point classmate Pat Ryan and I have Protecting Kids on Social Media Act I introduced. Unfortunately, there are hardly any rules governing what can be done with information of a child once it's collected. Would you agree and would you support Congress's efforts to act on data privacy to protect our children?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, as day after day, we see the real dangers of allowing companies to endlessly surveil kids. to harvest that data, to buy and sell it online. And through our enforcement track record, I think we've made clear that we will continue to be aggressive here, but of course, additional authority from Congress, including for the reasons Commissioner Slaughter laid out, given some of the outdated features of COPPA, is going to be critical.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm out of time.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.